The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
What time is it?
Ladies and gentlemen, the Undisputed Era has arrived.
You have the 25 days of Christmas. Impact's going to have the 25 days of releases.
I send it you to deletion! Yeah!
It's hashtag Alpha versus Omega.
Let's just say hashtag aroused.
No, you're going to step in that ring and you're going to be looking at me eye to eye and you're going to realize you ain't got a chance.
Thank God we don't have to talk about it anymore because she got that cancer out of there.
Sean stole my answer. I'm just glad we don't have to talk about this anymore.
And that's not an insult. That is just a fact of life.
Sir, son. Hey, man, what's your name?
I'm Pete from Alabama.
As you know, the Dusty Rhodes Classic Tournament is coming up. And who is your pick to win?
I'm going to have to go with the Street Profits.
Oh, man!
How you doing, man? Yo, Montez Ford from NXT. How are you, man?
Oh, I'm doing good. I'm Darnell Washington.
Oh, Darnell Washington.
Washington.
Mr. Washington.
Oh, yeah. Well, as you know, Darnell Washington, he's watched NXT a lot, and he has to go with those Street Profits.
Ah! Everyone knows the truth, but the Street Profits are always the answer.
Ladies and gentlemen, wrestling to the max.
And your hosts, Gary Vaughan, Sean Garmer, and Paul Leazar.
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, and we are excited to tell you, neighbor, you're here for another great episode of Wrestling to the Max, episode 288, part 2. I, of course, am your host, Gary Vaughan, and along with me is Mr. Paul Leazar.
I'm 5 years old again, Gary. I'm watching PBS, and suddenly it's time for Mr. Rogers.
I was just trying to get you to take your shoes off and maybe your jacket, Paul, and then put them on again. Just a different pair.
I gotta sing a song about Will You Be My Neighbor?
Yeah. I'm ready. I'm all ears, buddy. You go for it right now. I'm ready for this one. I do have a 4-year-old, and she doesn't really watch it anymore, but there's also another show out there called Daniel the Tiger. Check it out on Netflix, and they got their own rendition of the whole, neighbor song, and it's actually really catchy. I'm not going to lie. I walked around the house singing it many a day. So just got to give credit. Of course, I, like you, grew up watching Mr. Rogers. Man, what a classic show. And it's kind of funny. Facebook has these things pop up, and they kind of had one of those 40 years ago, Mr. Rogers debuted or something like that. I'm like, I think it was 40. It was forever ago. It's sick. I know. I don't even think about it, Paul.
Yeah, let's not go there, Gary. I'm not feeling terrific, and I don't need to, pile on feeling old on top of it.
I don't trust me. I live with that every single day. But hey, I just want to throw out this. I didn't mention Sean's name. Just to give a little bit of background. Sean tonight is, of course, helping out the W2M Network. So he is doing the video games podcast. That way, all of you video game fans out there can have that podcast. He is, of course, doing a lot of things right now, and this is probably going to be more often because of the fact that his schedule has definitely changed. And sometimes you're just going to be stuck with us two blockheads when it comes to wrestling, and hopefully you're okay with that. So, but we of course do miss Sean, and hopefully he gets back on here soon. I'm sure he'll be here probably for the Tuesday morning show. It's just tonight he couldn't make it. His schedule was really busy, and he had to get that podcast done, and I'm glad he does it. So. But yeah, Paul, I know you're sick. You're not really feeling well, so we're not going to delay too long. But man, I definitely hope you feel better. And I appreciate you joining me tonight and not leaving me hanging here like, sobbing and like I had to talk about all this stuff by myself. So
we'll see whether you like that or not by the end of this, because I am definitely not all here today.
Yeah, it's okay. Just anytime your brain doesn't work, just go, yeah. Oh.
I might take a cue from our intro and just answer any question you ask me. The answer being the Street Profits.
Yeah. You know what? And you would be right on every one. So. But anyway, guys, well, hey, why delay it any further? We are about to jump into some quick hits, but before we do, I just need to let you guys know, of course, to find all our great content, it is W2Mnet.com, and to find us on your local podcasting platform, just hit subscribe over at the Wrestling to the Max or the W2M Network, whatever one you choose. You're a winner, and you'll get an opportunity to hear all of our great podcasts. If you choose the network one, you'll get every single thing W2Mnet.com has to offer. And make sure you also go check out our friends over at 411mania.com, LesserOnProWrestling.com. They have great content. We make sure we let everybody know about them as well, because they're great supporters of ours, and we want to make sure they get the support they deserve. So there you go. Well, let's get the thing started with some quick hits, Paul.
It's time for wrestling news. Quick hits.
Gary, I'm standing at the walls of wrestling news, and I'm ready for you to fire away.
Let's break it all down. Let's go ahead and start talking about some news when it comes to WWE and their future. Well, I'm not talking about them shutting down or selling just yet. They might. Who knows? But the selling part could be very real, because they had a nice little meeting with Fox Sports this past Tuesday. Yeah, Fox Sports was in the house. You had some executives front row for Smackdown Live, getting a chance to enjoy that show, whatever they did on kind of a bad show, if you ask me, for them to sit in. SmackDown was okay this week, but I'm just saying that was not the highlight of SmackDown Live as of late. So hopefully that didn't deter them and their thought process isn't on, getting WB television. But anyway, so we had even Colin Cowherd, a long-time, very well-known WB hater, in attendance as well. And this was really all focused on Fox Sports wanting to sit in with Vince, and I'm sure a lot of the other WB officials, see how things work, see how their TV is, and of course, maybe discuss a little business, because they are definitely in the running to possibly grab WB away from NBC Universal and, of course, USA Network, and take them on over to Fox Sports, or even just, Fox in general. So that is something that's been rumored, and now seeing them there, it's even more real. No guarantees that anything like this is going to happen, Paul, but, even Colin Cowherd is out there saying positive things, which is weird and kind of scary.
Yeah, apparently he said he had fun, and it was a blast, and all this other stuff, and even calls it a, quote, very good sport, and that it could be coming to a network near you very soon.
Wow, hold on. He called it a sport?
He called it a sport, a very good sport, by the way.
Oh my God. This guy obviously has forgotten the words he has spoken in the past about Eddie Guerrero and how he was not an athlete. I guess that just changes because he he has bosses that want to be friends with WWE. So I guess that's why he's changing his tune.
There are few things in this world more delicious than watching somebody have to eat their words, Gary.
Yeah.
This is one of those times.
Yeah, and I'm sure Vince is over there saying, yeah, that's right, suck on this. So
yeah.
Anyway.
Have a taste.
Oh, God, I don't want to visualize that. But anyway, really what this boils down to, Paul, is that we've been talking rumor on this podcast many a week about this being a possibility. You kind of shake it off as rumor. But once you see the guys that run the company actually there and them actually entertained by WWE, this just becomes more of a reality. And Fox has a lot of money to play with, especially since they sold a bunch of stuff to Disney. This could be a very much in our future. I don't know if WWE will ever sell to Fox. They possibly could if Vince decides he's kind of, old and ready to move on. But, this is just interesting overall. And I to be honest with you, Paul, I don't really have a problem with it. I know it sounds kind of funny, but I would love one day to be able to go and watch Monday Night Raw on my local Fox affiliate. You know, I think it'd be kind of fun. It'd be really cool to see them matching up against all those other NBC, ABC, and CBS shows on Monday nights.
If this deal happens for WWE, it just makes insanely good sense for them, right? So, both WWE and UFC, who is currently in contract with Fox, right, are wanting $400 million for their TV rights, okay? Fox apparently is willing to do this for WWE, and if they do, they're going to let UFC go, and, they'll wherever they go, best of luck to you. WWE Monday Night Raw will be on Fox, is the rumor, and that just, basic channel, one of the biggest channels on, American airwaves, at least here, and many worldwide affiliates. Like you suddenly get tossed into so many more homes than being on a cable channel, right? And Smackdown will end up on Fox Sports 1, which is still, of course, a cable channel. But Raw, I think, is the big selling point for here, and the price tag, and all the exposure I think that comes with being on a giant network like Fox. So. This is really interesting to keep an eye on. The executives that were there are not just, Joe Schmoes. These are top names in that company. So, this is looking, like you said, less like a rumor, more of a very real situation that we could be living come, end of 2019, beginning of 2020, because their contract with NBC Universal runs out next year in September, and WWE wants to get it done this year, so we're going to be in for a long haul of this talk for, I'm assuming, the rest of this year.
I think you're completely right about that. And, NBC, I'm sure, would love to keep WB. They've been a big part of USA Network, probably the biggest, I will say that, definitely, the biggest thing that USA has going for them. So let's see where USA goes from here. I think Sci-Fi will quickly, laugh at them as they pass them by. But, I think that this whole thing just makes all the sense in the world for WB, for everything you just said, and the idea that everybody is cutting the cord, right? So now you've got, I can't tell you how many people over here in the States that are definitely no longer with Dish, no longer with cable, but they get their antennas out, they hook up their Roku, they hook up whatever they use to stream different, services. And now Monday Night Raw is not going to be hard to find. You're not going to have to get an illegal stream. You're not going to have to do that. You just turn it on your local Fox affiliate or wherever you're, viewing Fox, and you got it. And now Monday Night Raw becomes a huge feature in American homes, possibly again, because of that reason. Right. You're on a major network. You're no longer just on another cable channel. You're a major network. It's a big deal. And I think it's something that if this does happen, I think people really should take notice on, how WB is going to start handling things. Trust me, this is where you had those big signings that WB's been coming in contact with, like Ronda Rousey, right? These kind of names are going to help those people come and start watching Raw because like I said, it's available. It's going to be even more of an opportunity to get newer fans. Kids that don't even have cable will start watching Raw because it's on their basic television. So I think it's a big deal, Paul. This is something we've kind of dreamed about forever, right? For WB to be on just a regular network television channel. At least I have, so.
That's something that Vince has certainly wanted, I think, from the get-go. That's the whole reason I think he became so buddy-buddy with NBC, right? And how I think Saturday Night Main Event got there, right? That aired on NBC, the actual NBC affiliate, where, for a very long time. And, for them to get their weekly show on there, which is something they've never had before, that has to be super appealing. Not only to Vince, but just everybody in that company. I think you get on a major network like that, and you're just going to see money start flying at you for all sorts of different reasons. So, and if you are a cord cutter, Fox is literally on every single one of the services you can get: Sling, PS View, Hulu, YouTube, anything out there that's basically trying to sell you a cable package that you can stream over the internet. Fox is on it.
And WB already has a deal with Hulu. They won't have to change that at all. There'd be no reason. I mean, Fox is already there, so Fox isn't going to complain. They already know about it. And if NBC, is one of those channels that maybe you like a lot of their content, don't feel bad for them because they've had every opportunity to put WB television on their local network feed too.
Mm-hmm.
They just chose not to. That's their deal. They have other shows they wanted to show, and it's all in fair game because WWE's contract is running out. So I'm really looking forward to seeing this storyline kind of play out, Paul. And I know it's going to be probably a long time before we actually get the fact that any new huge headlines when it comes to actual official signings or paperwork getting handled. But this is a great start. This is really exciting to see. And like I said before, it's going to be funny to see these guys like Colin Cowherd sit there and bow at the feet of WB as they have to, because now they have no choice.
Mm-hmm.
or leave go to ESPN or somewhere else because you don't want to deal with it. But just not, it's just going to be hilarious. I can't wait. So. Well, let's talk about some other big things with WWE. Let's talk about, one big guy in WWE. That's Braun Strowman. And, it's been kind of a running theme now as of late for us to kind of talk about Braun, but really not talk about a direction. Paul, you and I do Monday Night Raw every week. We kind of go through the show. And as of late, we've been noticing the trend of for WrestleMania. No one knows. It's up in the air. Well, here's the behind the scenes info on why that could be. The whole guy doing the whole steroid thing and blaming or a lot of other people for what's going on. But not only that, talking about his clientele, Roman Reigns being one of them apparently, or at least rumored, allegedly Roman Reigns is a client of his. I want to make sure allegedly gets in here so I don't get sued. But nonetheless, WB is very fearful. They may believe Roman, that Vince may be, right there beside Roman saying, I believe you, kid. Don't worry about this. But he's not stupid. And he's dealt with steroid cases before. He's dealt with all sorts of legal stuff. But he's not stupid. And I think what we're getting here and what they're rumoring backstage is the fact that in case Roman Reigns does get more heat behind this, more information comes out and Roman is guilty of steroids and, of course, buying them, they can quickly put Braun Strowman up against Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania and no harm, no foul, right? They could just throw him in there and it's going to be a great match. But, it's just a waiting game right now. And so as they wait, we're looking at Braun Strowman possibly still be heading the direction we've been talking about going, and that's towards the Intercontinental title. He'll, of course, probably be in a fatal five-way match with Finn Balor involved. Of course, The Miz is the champ. Then you'll also have Seth Rollins and I believe someone else. I'm blanking on the other name.
Elias.
Elias, thank you, Elias. So all this is coming out, Paul, and this is kind of stuff we talked about, but I really hadn't thought WB was this afraid of the steroid scandal.
This is interesting for many reasons on WWE's front. If all this comes out about Roman and this film that John Bravo is making, then I think it does a lot more damage than to just Roman. It does some damage to the company, right? Because you're supposed to have this wellness policy. You're supposed to be testing these guys. And if you tested him and nothing's coming up and suddenly this guy's saying he did it, he's got proof and all this other stuff, and it seems pretty legitimate, then that's kind of a serious black eye, especially in this day and age, too, where you have all of these major sports organizations doing their best to try to crack down on all this. There's all this testing. There's all these huge fines, the suspensions that get handed down if you do get accused. And if WWE has missed the boat with somebody who they've been pushing pretty heavily to be their front guy, I don't think that does you any favors or not, or anything, excuse me, to really help you try to alleviate, like you have no legs to stand on. So, I love Braun. I kind of do hope that he does get this spot just because I think he's done so well. It's really interesting to note that Vince finds Braun to be the perfect guy for the company because of how big he is, how well he's sort of getting along in the ring, and his ability to be comedic. So that obviously bodes well for him, and it sort of explains a lot of the booking behind Elimination Chamber as to why it went down that way. So it should also probably mention, too, that Fatal 5-Way rumor was reported by Sports Illustrated, who obviously has a pretty big in with the WWE now. So, of course, that could just be them throwing smoke, but it could also be pretty legitimate that is what goes down.
Yeah, and the one thing that I find interesting about this whole process is the fact that I think what we're going to look forward to seeing in the near future is a lot of stalling by WWE. right? A lot of just kind of pedaling it along to WrestleMania, and I kind of hate that. I really, really do. But I mean, it's what they got to do because they just have no idea how this thing is going to shake out. Maybe nothing happens between now and WrestleMania, but if something does, they've got to be aware of it. They've got to be very cautious, and they probably have a storyline sitting in their back pocket of why Roman can't be there. Something happens or they can make up something. Heck, they may even shoot an angle and they never air it, just in case, where maybe Brock attacks Roman, and just never air it. So, who knows? But I just think, it's a little worrisome. But at the same point, I think, they should be all in for Braun Strowman for every reason you just mentioned. And the fact that people just really dig the guy in general. They just love Braun Strowman. I do too. I can't lie. He's hilarious. And not only that, he's a great representation of WWE. I really feel that way. If you want a face for the company, you bring that guy into a room on any talk show, any movie set, any place. He's intimidating. He's scary. But then again, he does have charisma. That screams a lot of positivity for WWE, if you ask me. It just does.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. I think Braun is honestly everything they've sort of been looking for. And it's not only that, one, they've done such a great job of booking this guy that he's organically over with the crowd. That is something I don't think you could say for Roman Reigns right now, too. And to add another sort of factor to this, too, with the idea that Brock Lesnar could be leaving, and suddenly you have Roman so built up in this story already that, suddenly Lesnar maybe underperforms or something like that. There's so much, sort of controversy now surrounding your WrestleMania event that's been sort of set in stone for a year now, and there's just like an almost refusal to back down from saying this is the right way to go now.
Exactly. You're exactly right about that. And it's their own fault. They've created this demon, that however it falls in place, if it doesn't work out and it's all nasty, then that's going to be on their head. No one else's. And, I'm not blaming WB for, wanting what they're wanting. I get it. Roman Reigns is not a bad looking dude. And, he's a guy that, if you're going to talk about The Rock or anyone else like that who's just got that appeal, Roman's probably one of the closest guys you got to that, besides maybe a Finn Balor or somebody else just with a great physique. But, it's just, once again, they created this. They'll have to stew in it if anything goes down wrong. So who's to say? I'm just hoping that, Braun in the future does get his due and really, maybe he will become the face of WWE, because I think if there's anybody right now on the roster, I think Braun definitely deserves it.
Right. I agree entirely.
Well, let's jump into something else that's really interesting here. And this, of course, we're talking about plans changing. Well, plans did change on this past Monday Night Raw, apparently. We're hearing that there was a segment with Asuka they changed. Apparently, Asuka was going to choose her WrestleMania opponent this past Monday night. That did not go as planned, and things did change. So we still are up in the air if Asuka is going to face Alexa Bliss for the Universal title, or if she's going to go to SmackDown Live and challenge Charlotte Flair for the WWE Women's Championship. I am really interested in this, Paul. I have heard talk all week about different scenarios, but I'm starting to really get talked into this idea that Asuka is going to face Charlotte because of what Nia Jax is doing right now, and that's nothing until she can finally get Alexa Bliss alone.
There's a lot. First of all, I'm real curious what took up the time for this that they wanted to scrap it. Is it the Rousey segment? Is it What did it? That's I guess my big question mark there, because this seems fairly important for somebody you're pushing very hard as undefeated and is bringing a lot of attention, not only in this country, but obviously in Japan to a your biggest event of the year. And you know what? It's not good enough this week. So we'll push this back. It's going to be whatever. That's a little puzzling to me. So if you're going with Charlotte as Asuka's opponent, clearly you're looking for a big marquee match that has the potential to be something really special on a big stage. And that certainly is worth a lot. But there's so much, I think, tied up in the Alexa Bliss story that it sort of goes back to what we were just talking about. Where's the stubbornness here? Where's the, this is the bed we made, we're not going to lay in it now? It's I don't know. I'm not ready to say it's going to be Asuka and Charlotte yet. I still am hanging my hat on a triple threat with Asuka, Alexa, and Nia, because that seems to be the way everything they've told us is going. And for Asuka and them to just sort of go, oh, nope, she's going over here to SmackDown. And if, with less than a month of build to try to make that matter, you're basically trying to get people to sell on a dream match factor, not necessarily a storyline. And that's, while that certainly is in WWE's wheelhouse, I'm not sure that's the way they want to go with this.
Yeah, and you may be very, very right on that. I don't know. It's WWE, we're talking about it here. They can change plans at any moment here, and they want you to think it makes sense, even though it may not make sense. And really, I'll be honest with you, the why and the reason I'm starting to maybe change teams on this idea is for the fact of Nia Jax versus Alexa Bliss. I think it's something we've been kind of waiting to see. It's been kind of hanging around us. But not only that, you think Ronda Rousey is now a part of the Raw Women's division. So she's going to be there, and she's going to be a major part of it. They're not going to bring her in there to go and do 50-50. I think she's going to come in there and be pretty dominant for the most part. Mm-hmm. It's going to be really difficult to book two women that can't be beat. It's just going to be really tough. It's going to make... let's be honest, it's going to tie their hands a bit. And I feel like if they take Asuka over to SmackDown, where right now Charlotte's just kind of hanging out, maybe having a little feud with Ruby Riott for what big reason? Not anything giant. I just think it makes sense to have Charlotte Flair have a really big opponent. And I would figure that Fastlane, you would have Asuka show up after Charlotte Flair beats Ruby Riott, and then Asuka points at the WrestleMania sign, and then there you go. SmackDown Live just got another huge star to really help their cause, to help their ratings. So,
and that makes a lot of sense. I absolutely see the point there, but there's nothing saying you can't do a shakeup after WrestleMania and move people around or anything like that. So, I'm probably wrong. I'm probably being the stubborn person here, but I really struggle with, they put 2-3 months of storytelling into this, and now they're going to scrap it with less than a month to try to make something else happen. That's a tough sell for me.
I understand you, and I think both of us are right there on this whole idea of something's going to go down, but whatever goes down, it needs to make sense. It just has to make sense, and going back a little bit of my point, Asuka also was supposed to lose to Ronda Rousey. How's she going to do that if she's on SmackDown Live?
That's true. That's true, unless that's out the door now.
Yeah. Yeah, so there you go. Once again, this is an interesting news. I think, Asuka, is going to be fine. I really wonder how they're going to handle all this business, and we'll soon find out in the very, very near future. So let's talk a little bit about some Impact Wrestling and what's going on over there. Impact Wrestling, of course, they've been working with different promotions and really working on a lot of things. And right now they got WrestleCon coming up this year during WrestleMania weekend. That's going to be a huge deal, and people are really looking forward to that. But what they're looking at doing possibly is having at that show Impact Wrestling versus Lucha Underground. And Paul, I'm all over that. I would love to see that happen.
This is locked in at this point. This is what they're going with. I think it's a really neat idea, but there's already so much crossover as far as workers go. Obviously Johnny Nitro, John Morrison, Johnny Mundo, whatever you want to call him at this point, headlining basically both shows. Brian Cage, Sami Callihan, there's a lot of people that work both shows, so I don't necessarily know how that's going to work out in any favor to really make it feel super fresh. But I think this is a really neat idea, right? It's just you're further closing in the ties there. Impact Wrestling is also working with Rise, coming up soon too. Rise is another female promotion, so that's really cool. It's just going out of their way to co-promote with people in an attempt to get people to watch them, I think is a very interesting idea that we have kept an eye on for a long time now, and this is just another step in that direction.
Yeah, you know what, and you put it into perspective, the fact that they do have a lot of Lucha Underground wrestlers over there already. So now my interest has kind of started to kind of wane a not really. I just, I thought to myself, well, Gary, what do you expect? I mean, now after Paul makes that point, what are you really expecting? And I was thinking to myself, you know what? Johnny Mundo is going to be the same guy he is at Johnny Impact. So special, not really. What are we going to get is the things that I want to see really are the little niche things, Drago in the bathroom, things like that, So I don't get that. They probably won't even showcase stuff like that. So, hey, maybe one of the Impact wrestlers, technically gets killed in storyline or something. That will bring me over even more. But
that'd be cool.
Yeah, wouldn't it? But yeah, I mean, we'll have to watch that. I'm really looking forward to it, though. It'll be fun. That whole WrestleMania weekend's gonna be full of really fun stuff. It's sick how much good wrestling's gonna be there. Let's talk about Neville. We've been, kind of talking about him in the past, and really hasn't been brought up in a while. But we keep getting this back and forth, Paul. Neville's leaving the company. He's just waiting his contract out. Then they're talking to him, and they got him, on board. And then, nope, definitely leaving. He's gone. And then now, guess what, Paul? He's back at the table talking to WWE again. God, someone needs to make their mind up.
Here's the very basic bare bones of the story. Neville walked. He was expecting to get released. WWE never did it. And they can freeze his contract to the point of where it will stop, ticking down to the expiration date, all this other stuff. And he's basically going to be stuck with them until he, plays ball with them. I'm pretty sure that's what this is WWE calling him up or him coming to them and is like, okay, I've played my card, you're not playing along, let's get this moving to a point to where we can both get what we want. I'll come back, I'll work the rest of the contract, and then, we can go our separate ways after that if I'm not, if I'm still upset or if I'm still not happy being here. And WWE might make him do some stuff that maybe nobody wants to see, but that's, that's how this is going to play out, I think.
Yeah. It just really kind of bums you out if he does have to do those things that we don't want to see him do. But, I mean, I understand where WWE's coming from and the fact that they've, had this kind of contract. And sure, he's not happy, but, I mean, it's something that, they have to address. And I think they're doing it now, finally. We'll see what happens. But I just don't understand why you would not want to use a guy like this and put him in a good spot. I mean, sure, yes, he's been the Cruiserweight champion, and I get it. What are they going to do? Put him in Cruiserweight champion again? It's not a bad idea. But, do what we're seeing, 205 Live do now. Let guys go different places. Hey, what's wrong with letting Neville go on to Raw for a little while and have a few matches and then pop back over to 205 Live and still be a part of the Cruiserweight division? Not a big deal.
Yeah, I think if we look at the bright side of this conversation, it's Triple H finding himself back in control of, or finding himself in control of 205 Live. He's got the book. He knows Neville is a part of this roster, and he's trying to rebuild that bridge like he's done so many times to get this guy to come back and be a part of something that's kind of a little bit special right now, because 205 Live is basically, since they started the whole Cruiserweight title tournament again here and brought in Mr. Drake Maverick as its GM, like it's sort of cooking on all cylinders. Why wouldn't you want to bring in another great competitor like Neville, who has a great background of being one of the bright spots of the previous administration of 205 Live? So I maybe it's that too. We don't really know, just because you only get so much from dirt sheets, but Neville, maybe there's more of a light side to this than we're imagining.
Yeah, there might be. It's really easy to sit here and armchair quarterback this kind of stuff, right? Because
exactly.
We could do what we want to do, but we don't know the financials. We don't know the real reasons sometimes that are, hindering guys from doing these kind of, contract signings. And not only that, just wanting to be in that locker room. So we will find out in the near future, I am sure, about what happens with the future of Mr. Neville. Well, let's move on to a few rapid hits here. We've got a few things. I'll just kind of throw these out here, Paul. We'll kind of quickly get through them. They're interesting news topics, but they're not super, super long. Bianca, I can't think of her name now.
Bianca Belair.
Belair. Okay, sorry. I had scrolled down on my news doc because I like to make sure I can read it. And now I'm scrolling. Here I am. Okay, so Bianca Belair got injured recently at a house show for NXT, which I think it was Ember Moon, if I'm not wrong. I think, yeah, she hit a eclipse, and it was kind of ended up being bad for Bianca Belair. Oops. And now she is out indefinitely, it seems. And that's a shame. Bianca Belair is a great talent. They've really kind of shown her on TV a little bit now and gone again.
Supposedly it was a move she took before the eclipse, and the reason she took the eclipse poorly was because obviously the lights were on and nobody was home to really try to do anything. She kicks out at 2 after the move, and all this other stuff. But you're right. Nobody knows anything about how long she's going to be out, which really sucks because she's one of the up-and-coming stars of that women's division on NXT, and she's homegrown, and you know how much WWE loves to push that narrative too. So, a big blow to NXT, a big blow to her, and somebody who I hope gets well very, very soon because I've enjoyed watching her work recently.
Yeah, no doubt, she's a really solid performer, and it's just really sad if she doesn't get to be there WrestleMania weekend to do those NXT shows. You know, yeah. That really, really sucks. So let's hope that she gets better soon. Pro Wrestling Guerrilla did something that it's kind of funny if you ask me, but really it's not their fault. It's actually someone else's. PayPal had an error, and so they oversold their venue. That's right. So March 23rd, they are going to have this big event, and now they have to find a way to fit in all the people instead of, basically, having people, getting their money back and all that kind of stuff. They are actually just going to move to another venue. First time they've ever done that in 6 years, Paul.
Yeah, this is kind of cool. PWG, they've done their occasional dalliances during a WrestleMania weekend. I didn't really count that, but as far as them just running shows straight up out of Reseda, they haven't done it since the last Kurt Russell reunion show. So this is kind of a big deal for them to wander out of Reseda back into Los Angeles, and hats off to them for trying to make good on all the error and turn apples into apple juice or wine or whatever you want to call it. I don't know. I'm tired.
I get you. Oh, man. But no, I mean, it's just really cool that they did this, right? Mm-hmm. Instead of being stubborn, instead of saying, no, we're going to be very exclusive. No, you bought a ticket. It's fair. We're just going to change venues. And I think that's really cool with them. So props to PWG on that. Let's quickly get over here to the Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt situation. Now, we know they're still feuding, and I don't care if it's not entertaining us right now. There could be a possibility of them starting to entertain us eventually. Let's see if this actually happens. But according to their social media accounts and WWE.com with an article, we could be seeing a kind of a really cool thing, and that is, of course, the Great War, just WWE style.
Yeah, this is, I think, the end result we all wanted to see. I don't know if necessarily, you have all the non-build-up to this working in your favor to make you go, huh, but this is kind of what I want to see, WWE produced style of this thing at the Hardy compound, because that's the rumored location. So we'll see what happens, but you can't say that you're not a little bit excited to see this maybe finally happen.
Yeah, I mean, WWE's version of, total nonstop deletion or just the final deletion itself. I mean, they have the ability to do it great. They have Jeremy Borash, the guy that actually helped do the whole thing. Mm-hmm. Why can't it be good? That's the question. It's got to be. If they don't do it well, it's just WWE doesn't want it. That's just the bottom line. So they have every opportunity to do it right. Mm-hmm. To that end, we also have some other information. Jeff Hardy has been apparently begun rehabbing and, of course, preparing himself to get back in the ring. And, hey, he could possibly even be able to make a return around WrestleMania time.
So reportedly WWE is on the fence about what to do with him. Do they turn him into Brother Nero and throw him back in with Matt Hardy? Or do they say F that and go back to trying to make him into that same single star they had before he got ousted from the company for, wellness violations. So we'll have to wait and see there, but it is good news to hear that Jeff Hardy is on the mend and coming back sooner rather than later.
I agree. That's a really positive news. And I mean, it would be a nice surprise to see Brother Nero show up and really help that feud that we just talked about with Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy. It'd make it so much better. And also don't forget to bring Vanguard One with you, Jeff. Come back.
Yeah. Take him off the charger and bring him with you.
But yeah, exactly. Have Senior Benjamin carry the charger. But anyway, wouldn't it be beautiful if King Maxwell just, pinned Bray Wyatt? Oh, God. I would cheer.
I don't know how okay WWE would be with a 3-year-old pinning somebody that they've kind of had be their world champion at one point.
See, that's the point they're missing, though. That's the point they're missing. But anyway, yeah, I know my goofiness is something WWE would not appreciate. But yes, one last little piece of news we need to let the people know. Flow Slam Sports and WWN have, of course, had their lawsuit dropped. So that is no longer a thing, Paul.
Mm-hmm. Good news for WWN, obviously. Because Flow Sports was looking for, I think $1 million. I don't know if they necessarily have that to just throw away at something, but it's been dropped basically by both sides. They can move on, and I would say WWN probably dodged a little bit of a bullet there.
Yeah, it's just a good thing that Flow Slam didn't have Hulk Hogan's lawyer. Otherwise, WWN would have known.
Yeah.
So. Well, there you go, guys. That is quick hits. Now, of course, we are going to move on now and talk a little bit. I think we want to do Ring of Honor, don't we, right, first?
That's it. We're going to do Ring of Honor first.
Let's go.
All right. Got ourselves a 2-match card here on this week's episode of Ring of Honor. You have the Young Bucks taking on Scorpion the Sky and Frankie Kazarian in the opener as they continue to build up to what I'm assuming is going to be a 6-man title match at the 16th anniversary pay-per-view. The Bucks end up winning it with a Meltzer driver on Scorpio Sky in a little north of 14 minutes. You have Christopher Daniels run down and attack afterwards, and then Adam Page comes out to even the sides. Cody is on commentary, does nothing. Might be something to keep in mind there as well. And then in the main event, you have the TV champion Silas Young defend the title against Kenny King. Silas Young's run is over before it ever began, Gary. Kenny King is your new RoH TV champion. About 14 minutes or so. Gets the win with an O'Connor roll sort of out of nowhere. A little bit of a flash pin situation there. I'm not a fan of that decision. And I'll let you take it from there.
You act like my response is going to be any better.
Yeah.
You know how much I love Silas Young. I just love him.
Mm-hmm.
And, this is fine. Kenny King, he did well with the TV championship, and he's a guy that I think probably needs to have the television championship around his waist at this moment in time. And I don't like it because I really enjoy Silas Young. I think he's been a fun champion to watch, and I really wish he could have held it a lot longer. It seems like he got it yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So this kind of makes me feel a little sad. But, I mean, once again, Kenny King could definitely use it. And let's be honest, Silas Young has got something going anyway, and I think he's going to be okay. I may just not be a fan of this decision. But a decent match out of him. I think they put on a pretty solid performance here. So I got to give him that credit at least.
I enjoyed the match a lot, and I don't want to take that away from them. I kind of, like, they tend to spotlight their TV champion pretty well. And I felt like Silas could have used it a lot. But then again, I don't really know what Kenny King can do without having the title around his waist either. Whereas Silas, as you said, he has the gimmick. He's got Bruiser and Malonis with him. Like, he's got a whole sort of package built around him to sort of take him wherever they want to go. So, as much as I kind of wish he got a good run here, maybe there's a higher order of things to come for him, as in maybe possible future ROH World Champion.
Oh, man, I really hope that's the case. I really, really do. And not only that, we've seen it before, but I wouldn't mind seeing it again. Dalton Castle versus Silas Young. Mm-hmm. I love that whole thing that they did, the whole storyline, the whole feud. It was a lot of fun. So we'll see if it happens again. But yeah, I mean, that was good. But, I will say this, we had earlier, you were talking about the Young Bucks and their match and the fact that they got the victory. It's kind of the norm. Excellent match for when it comes to just Young Bucks, right? They do a great job. I really like this storyline, though, about Cody not helping them.
Mm-hmm.
After they get attacked, I think it works. It fits in. Him on commentary, handing Colt Cabana his phone. Hey, before I go up there, can you hold my phone and all that? I just loved it. Hold on. And then, of course, you have to have Hangman Page come and save the day. And then Cody just slides in right after he does. Like, yeah, I was here all along, guys. I was here. So I really enjoy that.
I think they've done a really good job of telling the Bullet Club story over here in Ring of Honor as well so far since they had the blow up in New Japan at the beginning of this year. And it's really interesting because they're a bit more entwined here as far as the different factions they're trying to create over there in New Japan. The Bucks and Cody are friends. You have Paige and the Bucks holding the titles, and nobody really seems to know who's doing what at this point. And it's all keeping the intrigue and everything like that pretty... it's keeping it alive. It's keeping you guessing and wondering what these guys are going to do, who's going where, who's doing what, who's going to turn, and they just keep you guessing. And I think that's sort of the best part about this as far as the Bullet Club goes, especially because they've been so dominant for Ring of Honor over the past couple of years.
I definitely, and it's just so strange to think, in this short amount of time, the Bullet Club as a whole is going to be so different. Mm-hmm. And, it's just going to be a bunch of great athletes on their own, doing their own thing in the near future. And that's okay. There's no problem with that, but it's just kind of funny because something that was so strong, it's kind of starting to fracture here.
Right.
So,
right.
But yeah, I mean, I think it was, when it comes to matches, they had some, pretty solid performances here on this episode of Ring of Honor. And, they really didn't, have any big, long match for the women, but, they did showcase them at least on this show.
That was the other thing I wanted to talk about here because the last couple weeks we've gotten full matches from Women of Honor, and that's because they feature Mandy Leon and Brandy Rhodes, who they obviously have a lot invested in for various different reasons that may or may not include wrestling skill, Gary. And here we only get clips of Kelly Klein defeating Bonesaw Jesse Brooks and Deonna Purrazzo defeating Holly Dead, which I was excited to see the full thing of, and to do that, you have to go to their YouTube page. Otherwise, you have to deal with these clips. They're kind of going against what you told them they should do, Gary.
They're pissed off at me, I think. I did something. I must have made some disparaging comment about one of the wrestlers or something. I don't remember it, but I'm sorry. Can I please get back what I asked for?
I don't think it's going to happen.
It's okay. I understand. They're yelling at me, and of course now Bully Ray is telling me as the enforcer of Ring of Honor, go to YouTube, and I can do that. I just, maybe I just want to see it on regular TV. Why are you forcing me to go some other place? But they want you to go, to at ringofhonor.com. They want you to join, the Honor Club and, do things like that. So maybe this is another way for them to sell those kind of things to you. And it's fair enough. But it just disappoints me, Paul, because I really thought we were getting somewhere, and now all of a sudden we're taking a step backwards.
It definitely does feel like a step backwards. But then again, at the same time, they announced the Sumi Sakai versus Hana Kimura is going to take place at the 16th anniversary show. So they will get pay-per-view time, which is good to see as well. So, I mean, I guess you gotta give a little to get a little. It's only a 1 hour TV program, so maybe we're being a little harsher than we should be. But, this is something we kind of, I definitely want to see succeed. I'm sure they want to see it succeed as well. And, the quicker we can get on track with this division and trying to make it feel like it matters more than what it does, we're going to be in good shape.
I agree, and I just want to give it maybe this is the problem with it. I really was not a fan of the first two matches they put on, full matches for Ring of Honor when it came to the women's division. So maybe that's what got it kicked off. But, I know you have other great matches out there. Let's just put those on TV. But anyway, I'll get off my high horse.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, you can go watch those other two full matches on YouTube. They're a little short. I don't think any of them touch 10 minutes. But Kelly Klein, Jesse Brooks is pretty entertaining, and Holly Dead and Deonna Purrazzo wasn't exactly what I wanted, but it was still good, and Yeah, I don't want to get into spoilery stuff. So you got a lot to look forward to, I think, going forward.
Yeah, exactly. And this was the go home. Was it this?
No, I don't think it's the go home. I think we still have a little bit of time before the anniversary. So
okay, because they really sold it towards the end. All the they were really showcasing the matchups, and I was like, wow, this is already something like this. Well, okay, so good. We have a little time
next week.
Next week,
March 9th. Yeah.
Oh, fair enough. There you go, guys. Well, I think that was pretty much it for Ring of Honor from my memory.
That's it. Yeah.
Why don't we go and just jump into some Honor? I can't even speak. Honor Rising. You watched it, Paul. I'd like to hear your thoughts on Honor Rising.
We'll do that next.
King of Sport. New Japan Pro Wrestling.
All right, so Honor Rising is, of course, the 2-day crossover event between New Japan and ROH as part of their, giant deal that they have. I've watched select stuff from both nights, so I won't be giving an overall score or anything like that. But I basically watched the biggest stuff that you would expect you want to watch. So, for example, night 1, Flip Gordon, Hiromu Takahashi, Kushida. I don't know if I need to tell you it's great. But, hey guys, it's pretty great. Flip Gordon wins in a bit of surprise to me. And it does a terrific job of showcasing him. The crowd is super behind him the whole way. And it's just a whole lot of fun. So if you got some extra time on your hands, you got yourself a New Japan World subscription, you haven't watched it yet, do so. And watch Flip Gordon just sort of wow everybody. Who, I would say probably just earned himself a spot in Best of the Super Juniors this year too, so.
That's awesome. You know me, I'm a Flip Gordon fan, and I'm really looking forward to that. And if he did punch his ticket to that tournament, that's a great deal.
Yeah, this guy looks like he's got a pretty big future on his hands if he keeps going the way he's going. So, never openweight title on the line. Hiroki Goto defends against the Beer City Bruiser. The Bruiser may have put in one of his better singles performances that I've ever seen. Although he is in there with Goto, he got to look really good in this match, but obviously he's not winning this and ends up falling to the GTR in about 14 minutes or so. I mean, other than the Bruiser really just showing off that he's more than I think what he's been allowed to do maybe in Ring of Honor or anything like that, it's kind of neat to see him in a different spotlight, Gary.
Yeah, I can imagine. And, Beer City Bruiser, has been an okay guy. And, he's more I hate to say it, but he's a background guy. And for him to have a matchup against a guy like Goto, that's a cool deal. And I'm glad that he ended up being better than I think a lot of people expected.
Yeah, I agree. And he's going to wow us some more on the next night as well. But before we do that, the reason I'm assuming everybody is going to want to watch these shows is, of course, the first time, I shouldn't say the first 2-time reunion here for Kenny Omega and Kota Ibushi as the Golden Lovers, teaming up with Chase Owens to take on Cody's contingent of the Bullet Club, seemingly, which is him, Marty Scurll, and Hangman Page. And, of course, when you have the Golden Lovers come out together, everybody loses their mind. And this is just really, really smartly worked, 20 minutes, 6-man tag. You get everything I think you want. You get a lot of Cody-Kenny interaction. Of course, Cody and Kota still having that beef from Wrestle Kingdom carryover, as well as everybody else sort of getting in their pieces into the story as well. And naturally, Chase Owens loses, interestingly enough, to Hangman Page, who has essentially punched himself a ticket to a U.S. title match at Strong Style Evolved here stateside come late March. And this is another win to keep him rolling in that direction. Everything is on point here. Absolutely want to go watch this for sure if you're at all interested in the Bullet Club drama, or if you just want to see some great wrestling. It's great for both.
Yeah, for sure. And that's one that, you definitely don't want to miss out on because, the whole Golden Lovers thing, it's a big deal right now. And I think, if you've heard of it and you haven't checked it out, I think this is a great opportunity.
Very much so. So on to night 2 here. I want to give a nod, first of all, before I move on to anything. Liger, Delirious, and Cheeseburger as a 3-man team is just it's so funny.
That's awesome.
They challenge for the never openweight 6-man tag team titles on the second show. They have a match on the first night too that they win. And of course they get the crap kicked out of them in this match, but it's a good time. I enjoyed myself. And if you really just want something you can just sort of sit there and watch and enjoy and not really have to think about too much, I would say their matches are going to be right up your alley. So definitely go check that out. You also have Hiromu Takahashi and Bushi teaming up to take on Flip Gordon and Rizuki Taguchi. Once again, another showcase for Flip Gordon here. Everybody else getting to look good before Hiromu and Bushi end up taking it home in a little bit north of 10 minutes here. On Flip to kind of keep him down and all that good stuff. So, absolutely worth your time there too to go check that out. Maybe definitely better than what I just mentioned as far as the never openweight 6-man tag team title match goes, but certainly far from the greatest thing on this card. You have the Hung Bucks also beating Jay White, Chuck Taylor, and Yoshihashi in a very, very strange chaos pairing, taking on the ROH 6-man tag team title champions. And this is more Bullet Club continuation here too. Obviously Page and White, as I mentioned, have a match coming up. The Bullet Club angle is still spinning out between Page and the Bucks trying to work together. And they have their moments during this, but they still manage to come out on top. And this is good stuff. I would absolutely make sure to check that out too. Especially in the post-match here, because Page goes nuts on Chaos and the Bucks just sort of look stunned that he's gone this far and stop him, and then end up having to walk away and just sort of let him be on his own, because apparently Cody is getting to him and the Bucks are not seeing their old friend in Hangman Page anymore.
Oh, man. And that's great, because we're going to see more and more of this, so that's a great point we need to watch.
Absolutely. Sorry, I needed to breathe and get some water there. Because next up is the ROH World Title match as Dalton Castle defends. It was originally supposed to be against Trent. However, he is injured. He's working with a torn bicep and a torn pectoral muscle, which just sounds absolutely painful. So we get the Beer City Bruiser tossed into this. Jay Lethal's on commentary, of course, to watch his upcoming opponent for the 16th anniversary. And once again, Trent is working with basically half an arm. So it's mostly Dalton and the Beer City Bruiser here. And Dalton, of course, is still over with the crowd, just as he was the first time around last year. And ends up hitting the bridging German on the Bruiser, which is pretty impressive, because the Bruiser is not a small gentleman by any stretch of the imagination to retain his title here. I enjoyed this. This is sort of thrown together at times, but at other times it really sings and really works together. And Dalton, I mean, obviously was going to come out on top with the 16th anniversary show just around the corner, but I mean, Trent is just so good, especially when you know he's hurt. Him taking all the bumps that he does just becomes that much more painful and really makes you want to get behind this guy.
Yeah, definitely. And just the idea that this guy is going this far just to entertain people and deal with that kind of pain, it's just amazing. So hats off to that guy.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course that brings us to the main event. Golden Lovers, Kenny Omega, Kota Ibushi taking on Cody and Marty Scurll. As great as that 6-man tag was on night one, this was just supremely better. So much storytelling, so much great wrestling, and naturally you expect it with all 4 guys that are in here. And you know, Scurll seemingly has bitten on everything Cody's been selling him, and Kenny's trying to sort of win over as many of his former stablemates as he can to try to get him to hang out with him, and it's not really working out so far, as you can tell, and it's so good. Go watch this, guys. Kenny Omega and Kota Ibushi end up winning here. Their new finisher is called the Golden Trigger, which is basically them just throwing 2 knees into their opponent's face at the same time. It is absolutely brutal, and poor Marty Scurll died a hero's death during this match.
Yeah, and just the way that those guys work. I mean, it's just so entertaining, and they just have that chemistry. I just love every minute of it. So I agree. This is going to be something. If you haven't seen, it's a must watch. If you don't watch anything, I would almost argue.
Yeah. If you're watching anything from this weekend, make sure it's this main event on night 2, and especially the post-match stuff, because this is where you have the Young Bucks come out and announce to the world that they are now heavyweights, Gary. They are no longer in the junior tag team division in New Japan, and they want to challenge the Golden Lovers, because the Golden Lovers, in Kenny Omega's eyes, are on the road to trying to realize their dream of being the very best tag team in the world. And the Bucks ain't having that shit. They believe they're the best, and that's how this match for Strong Style Evolved got booked. Golden Lovers, Young Bucks, happening in Long Beach, California. Boy, oh boy, sign me up for that match of the year candidate already. Like, let's fast forward to the end of March already.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. I'm telling you, you get to add the Young Bucks, and then you add just the Golden Lovers. I almost can't speak it, because it's going to be magic when it actually takes place. So I am super, super stoked about this matchup.
And I think the most important thing to take away from this, too, is they went from having a very small and limited tag team division to throwing in 2 insanely hot teams like the Golden Lovers and the Young Bucks into the mix now with LIJ and all the chaos combinations you have, plus God, plus Lord knows however many, and suddenly your tag team division could be very, very interesting if you start spotlighting it correctly. So turning one of their biggest weaknesses into a positive gets aces in my book too.
Mm-hmm. Totally. I'm really looking forward to seeing where they go from here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's going to do it for our coverage there. So looking forward to Strong Style Evolve. Their anniversary show's coming up here soon too. So me and Sean will probably talk about that coming up soon.
Yeah, so awesome. Well, thank you, Paul, for covering Honor Rising. And now we are going to move on over to some Impact Wrestling.
All right. Impact Wrestling is a lot of hyping up for their big Crossroads Impact special next week, so lots of talking on the show, unfortunately. But thankfully, with the way we cover this now, we don't necessarily have to talk about all that. What we do have to talk about is some match results here. So in your opener, you have Tyrus defeat EC3, little north at 8 minutes or so. Phantasma defeats Braxton Sutter in about 5.5 minutes, and we probably want to talk about that post-match there, because Sutter talking some crap about Allie, saying that he's the star, she's making bad things happen to a lot of people and ruining everything. Cage apparently doesn't like that kind of talk around about ladies, and comes out and just absolutely murders him. Big lariat, Steiner screwdriver. I swear to God, I thought he died.
Yeah, I did too, and I was not sad. So
I wasn't either.
Yeah. I'll just say this, and we're going to get more into it, and maybe I should let you, talk about the next point. But it's just so funny. This is the first time we address anything with Allie and Braxton.
Mm-hmm.
It's just wild to me they haven't done that. They've done a lot of stuff with Allie, but just not him. So maybe there's a reason, but it's just so funny. Out of the blue, here we go, and
That's true. And we'll put a pincushion or a pin in that to talk about the rest of the show here. Congo Kong defeats Joseph Park in a little north of 2 minutes, which is more angle than match. Rosemary defeats Hanaya in a little north of 3 minutes in a no DQ match, which had absolutely nothing to do with the match at all, did that stipulation. And of course, that's the end of Hanaya's run. This is the big blow up that led to her getting tossed out of the company. So, and then your main event, Eddie Edwards defeats Sami Callihan in 15 minutes. A very good match. Highly recommend going out and checking this out. And then in the post-match, you have that injury news bit we talked about earlier, mid-January maybe, where Sami Callihan sets up a chair over Sami Callihan and hits the top of it, and instead ricochets off of the head part of the chair and smacks right into Eddie's face. It is brutal looking, and just makes you wonder, why the heck would you try that?
Yeah. Good God, man. Ah, boy. That was brutal. And I'll say this, you said it right. This is a really solid match. Very entertaining. I think that they did a great job together. And of course, finished out a little bit, in the wrong way when it comes to injuring a guy. But overall, it was good. It really was. And I will say this. I feel bad for Sami Callihan in a way, because, he left WWE, but I just think of the possibilities this guy could have had as a tag team partner for Dean Ambrose. That would have been so fun to see those two guys work together, especially in this new gimmick that he has with OVE. That guy I could totally see them fitting together. But yeah, I have nothing bad to say about this main event. It was really, really fun to watch.
It's interesting you say that. Sami Callihan and Dean Ambrose came up together in CZW as the Switchblade Conspiracy, so they have a lot of history already.
Oh, wow. So they were a tag team before? I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. They were. Sammy was sort of the launching pad for Dean Ambrose, John Moxley at the time, to getting springboard into sort of the indie spotlight. It was really cool.
That is sick, man. I had no idea. See, there you go. That's why I love you, Paul. You fill me in on the history, and I'm indebted. Now I want to go watch it. But yes, there you go with that. I do want to, also kind of throw out there, I like this a lot. And usually I kind of say, oh, who cares? But I love the fact that you get the rest of OVE in the back and they take down Lashley. That to me made a lot of sense. It looked very good. They did an excellent job. Overall, to me, Paul, OVE looked the best they've ever looked in this episode. The video packages that they had were solid. The effects, everything, completely on board right now, at least for this episode with everything OVE did.
I will say this. In recent weeks, since the end of the LAX feud, it's been a very focused presentation of these guys, in my opinion. They look very smart, they look very conniving, and they look like they know what they are doing. Like they have a plan. I don't think you could necessarily say that when they were fighting LAX seemingly every other week, in an increasingly brutal fashion of, they're just out there killing each other. There's not really a lot of story. This feels like it's OVE trying to prove that they belong. And I kind of dig that. Especially against two stalwarts in the company like Eddie Edwards and Lashley.
Exactly. And I'll say the video package, I got to give him credit. Because I really feel like now that Sami Callihan knows the devil, like face to face, knows the devil. And I really, really appreciate that. It just made me so happy to see them put him in this situation in a good light. And now, longer, at least for this time being, on my bad list. I'm really happy with what they're doing. So, go ahead.
Is there anything else on here that necessarily took your fancy that we haven't talked about?
Well, no, I want to mention really quickly the EC3 stuff. You expected that with Tyrus, so no big surprise there. I love the Ishimori stuff, actually with Seidel. I'm surprised, Paul. Once again, I'm not a fan of Seidel on the mic, but I really like that little segment that they had tonight. I thought that was hilarious and kind of cool to see Seidel back on a little bit of the heelish side.
Ishimori calling Seidel a douchebag might be my favorite moment of this year.
Who taught you that? I love it. I loved it, man. Really on for that. So, and I'll say the Joseph Park stuff. I'm still not on board. I trust me. Jimmy Jacobs was great at what he does. I love him, but outside of that, I could care less about that storyline.
I just have no interest in Congo Kong. Like, the guy does nothing for me. I like Jimmy Jacobs, and God bless him, he's trying, but there is just nothing to latch onto here.
Nope, not one bit. So, good luck on that with the rest of their storyline. But yeah, pretty much I think the rest of the show, had some good moments here. And I know you're about to talk about, another moment that we've kind of waiting to talk about.
Yeah, there's a couple other things I should probably mention before we jump into Laurel Van Ness attempting to marry an inanimate object. Cult of Lee get attacked by LAX, who were dressed up like the Mumbai Cats, and beat them down. Conan calls them soft, and they try to drown them in a pool, Gary. I tell you what, LAX...
Welcome to the Attitude Era.
Yeah, they're looking at that Attitude Era playbook and like, let's do that. Well, let's do that.
But I'll be honest with you, though, Paul, I didn't hate it.
Yeah, I can't necessarily say I did either. It wasn't great, but it was certainly a lot better than some of the other stuff on this show.
No, I agreed, and this storyline has not been good. It just has not been good. But this was at least it stopped a momentum of failure, at least for the time being. Let's hope it gets better. But, just Lee is I wanted to define douchebag. Right now, Lee just is that at the moment to me. He's just kind of weird and kind of, I don't know. And I'm still saying his relationship with his tag team partner, I can't think of his name right now.
Caleb Conley.
Caleb Conley. He's very forgettable. I'm just being very honest. Caleb Conley.
You're not wrong.
But they just have this weird relationship. So maybe KM will be in their future or something down the line. But they're just really strange.
Mm-hmm. Alberto Patron also cuts a promo on Austin Aries. It's very basic. He says he can keep pretending to be the champion, but eventually that title will be his again. I don't know if I'm necessarily super invested in that idea, but it's probably worth mentioning that Patron is still in that hunt.
And I just, want to keep mentioning, I just don't want him in that hunt because I don't care enough about Patron. And not only that, I hope he remembers that, man, you look terrible in that camera lighting or that lighting. He looks so old to me personally. When they lit him up like that, I'm like, yeah, don't do that again if you want to be relevant because he looked old.
He just looks so tired all the time. Every time I see him now, it's really sad.
Yeah, I was just kind of honestly feel bad for the guy. And you know what's funny? And this is off topic, but as I watched that, I kept thinking, what's kind of sad is this guy's going to finish his career doing this kind of stuff, and then eventually when he's in the WWE Hall of Fame, well, because they kind of have to put him in there eventually, I'm sure. He's going to have to talk about the good old days, but none of these days will be mentioned.
Exactly. Rosemary, after her match with Hanaya, puts herself over. Taya Valkyrie makes her return. We haven't seen her, obviously, in a while. And sort of has some words with Rosemary, calling each other bitch and whatever. And then Taya lays her out on the ramp with the road to Valhalla. I still want that match. We were supposed to get it Bound for Glory, Gary. I don't know if this necessarily makes you, must-see stuff as far as, these two getting involved with each other. But I still want to see the match. I think it'd be great.
Oh, yeah. I think definitely the two, will work great together. They're both, great at what they do. I don't know how sold I am that, you have Rosemary get the one-up on Hanaya after she was attacked by her, and you're feeling really good, and she cuts this really great promo, and then she gets beat down. I don't know how excited I'm about that, but, I mean, it's not like it didn't make sense, right? I mean, we have been waiting for Valkyrie. She finally got back, and this leads to new things. So let's hope it does go and, a great story and really has some relevance about it. But yeah, you're right. The matchup eventually is going to be a lot of fun.
I agree. So here we are. Laurel Van Ness attempts to marry a championship. KM brings the title down to the ring. He's going to be the officiant. It's eventually interrupted by Braxton Sutter, who says he made a mistake. His near death from Cage made him see the light. That Allie is a terrible person and that he should have ended up with Laurel the entire time. Van Ness, however, tells him where to stick it and sends him packing. And KM's like, well, that's an epic fail. And it's very bad. It's so bad. He keeps asking if anybody objects, and nobody does until the end here, where eventually Van Ness gets really upset that nobody else is upset that she's marrying a title. So Allie sneaks into the ring and beats her up for whatever reason.
I get it now. After watching this is all a ploy to get Allie to come out right to the ring. And but why does she care so much? She's a champion. Why is she trying to find Allie? That just to prove it, just to rub it in her face that she has a title? I guess so. But it is what it is. I really didn't have a lot of problem. I kind of found it entertaining, to be honest with you, because I thought it was funny to watch her try to get married to a title. But it was getting distracting for her to keep asking about, hey, does anybody object? Does anybody object? That was kind of like, okay, we get it. I walked away from this saying to myself, okay, they want to have this matchup, and I'm sure Allie's going to win the title. But, I think that they went a little too far, if you ask me, because I think they were doing really well, and then all of a sudden it just kind of fell down.
Yeah, KM is sort of struggling, in my opinion, on his side. I have zero interest in Braxton Sutter unless Cage is murdering him, it seems, and it kind of dragged a little for me at times. So I don't know. This you maybe cut out a couple of minutes. This is probably at least passable, but this way it was not good, and not nearly as funny as I think I wanted it to be.
Yeah, I agree. I think we were expecting a lot of comedy, right? And it just did not happen. The one thing I'll say about Braxton Sutter, once again, I mean, yeah, no one really cares about him, but I think there's a whole gap here that they just left hanging, and that's the what happened between him and Allie. Like, what did she do that was so bad? I mean, did she order from Domino's and he likes Pizza Hut? I mean, what happened between them?
It's Impact. That could be the reason, Gary.
Yeah, it could be. I don't know. I just don't understand it. I really don't, and I wish they'd have explained it. I think that's a gap that needs to be said, because what did she do that was so bad? I mean, who knows?
Well, I wish I could tell you. I don't know. But it's suddenly a thing, and we're supposed to care. So
yeah.
Here we are.
Exactly. That's what's even better about this is Allie could care less about what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
She's taking care of business. Whatever. Braxton Sutter. He still exists? No.
Apparently so.
Yeah. So there you go. Well, there you go, guys. That's Impact for this week. And not a terrible Impact. I actually won it. I had many moments actually enjoying it. So I hope that they find more moments. Sure, there were still cheesy stuff, but yeah, actually one of the better ones I've seen lately.
Yeah. I mean, the main event certainly makes this very watchable. So definitely go check that out.
Yeah, for sure. All right, guys. Well, now we're going to do one last thing, and that is crown a Superstar of the Week. We'll do that next.
Superstar of the Week.
Go for it, Gary.
All right, guys. Well, hey, just to be fair, we're also going to be crowning a Superstar of the month and a Match of the month, too. So, once again, I don't want you guys to miss out on that. So, we are going to start out, though, with Superstar of the Week, and we are going to be giving a single point over to someone that I think is well-deserving, and that person is, of course, John Cena.
Yeah, John Cena might not had the best of luck at Elimination Chamber and might have said on Raw that he's taking his ball and going to SmackDown. But when he took his ball over there, he beats AJ Styles in the main event in a pretty gosh darn good match and gets himself added to that Fastlane main event. It's worth the point. I don't know if I necessarily agree with it, but, watching Cena trying to continually hang around with all the younger guys, it's been interesting to me so far.
Yeah, you don't have to like it, but you got to respect it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where I come from on this. And, that's why I say very well deserving, because, he did his job. He did what he was supposed to do. To beat a guy like AJ Styles, to me, you got to get something out of it. So he gets a point. 2 points are going to go into a guy that, had a pretty big match on Sunday night, and that is Roman Reigns.
Yeah, Roman Reigns wins the Elimination Chamber match and has a pretty good promo on Raw the next night, but punches his ticket to WrestleMania 34, take on Brock Lesnar. Of course, if that happens now after all the news bits we were talking about. But you can't say it wasn't important, even though the match left a sort of a lot to be desired, if you ask me, especially with how they booked it.
Yeah, for sure. But, it's hard not to give the guy that just, got his number one contendership to WrestleMania. That's a big deal. Well, we got to give 3 points over to a guy named Kenny King.
Yeah, Kenny King wins the RoH TV title against Silas Young this week in another sort of decision I don't know if I necessarily agree with, but he's your new champ. It's a good match. Go check it out. Hats off to Kenny King.
We got to give some credit to Triple H because he got this guy 4 points, Cedric Alexander.
Oh, boy. 205 Live is just such a treat to watch these days, and Cedric and TJP put on one heck of a match. TJP looking to ground and really just try to show up Cedric, and it blows up in his face, and it's just so well done, guys. If you're not watching 205 Live, if you're not watching guys like Cedric Alexander, you're missing out on some really great wrestling.
Yeah, for sure, man. It is so different than what it was, maybe month and a half ago. So really exciting, and I think if you hear anything that we said tonight, at least give yourself a chance and watch some 205 Lives of the last 2-3 weeks. So, well, and of course, that leaves us with 5 points, and that, of course, is going to go to Alexa Bliss.
I mean, the women's elimination chamber match was such a treat. It was so good. It was well laid out. You have a lot of great storytelling. And Alexa manages to come out on top despite all the odds, despite her rekindled friendship with Mickie James not actually being there when it counted because she gets eliminated before she even gets in the match, and manages to overcome both Sasha and Bayley on the way to retaining. So 5 points, and that post-match promo alone might be worth the 5 points by itself, Gary.
Oh, I totally agree. That was really solid, and I think that, if nothing else, you've got to respect and appreciate the just job well done overall for her. So, well, congratulations to Alexa Bliss for being the superstar of the week. Now we have to talk about our superstar of the month, Paul, and that person is NXT's own champion, Andrade Almas.
Yeah, Mr. Cien Almas not only had a great January, he had a great February too. Great match with Gargano recently on NXT television. Great promo this week. And they've just done a really awesome job, I think, of spotlighting this guy. And, he found himself in a 4-way tie with everybody who had earned 5 points because nobody appeared twice on our list for this month. But, we thought he had the strongest edge over everybody. So he gets the nod and he gets the extra 5 points going towards our Superstar of the Year totals.
And this was really difficult. I just want people to know. Very difficult. Paul and I really had to split hairs here and really kind of debate, but it was hard for me personally not to pick Almas in this. And, congratulations to him. Once again, he put in some hard work and really entertained us. We got to give a match of the month. This is another difficult one. Oh my God. It was split hairs too, but we really went back and forth on this, but we just kind of had to go with the one that kind of had the best point system rating. And so Suzuki and Tanahashi had a big match at New Beginning, Sapporo Night 1, and Paul, it got our match of the month.
Yeah, Suzuki basically torturing Tanahashi until he finally, the referee finally felt bad enough for Tanahashi to throw the match out and award Suzuki the Intercontinental title. It's such a well done match. It's well worked. The story is incredibly well told. And it's sort of Suzuki's big crowning moment since, this is probably, obviously he's been a heavyweight champion in other promotions before, but this is the highest honor he's gained in New Japan so far, and that's not for nothing. And if you haven't seen this match, absolutely go watch it. It's incredible. I don't know how many times I could say that in a show, but Jesus, just go do it.
Yeah. There's so many great things going on in the world of wrestling right now. And, if you're a wrestling fan, you're getting some treats. And trust me, it's not all in WWE because there's other places that are giving you so many more great moments that you need to go check out if you're not checking them out. So please go do it. That's why we cover all these shows, because WWE is not the only place that has great wrestling and has some great moments. Please go check out the other promotions we promote. They really, really do it for you. So. Well, guys, that pretty much wraps up our show. I just got to give a big shout out to Sean for really working hard over there at the W2M Network. He's doing a lot of big things, and he may miss our show, and he definitely misses it. Trust me, if you would read the text messages that Paul and I get, very remorseful, but he knows what's got to get done, and that's this show. He knows it's got to get done, and if he's got to do other things to help the network, he's going to do that, and he's going to say, guys, go ahead and go do your thing. And that's what we appreciate about Sean. Really respect him and everything he's doing over there for the W2M Network. He works hard. Trust me, you don't know the half of it, how hard this guy works. And Paul's a big help, and Paul works hard as well. But these two guys, really doing some great things over there at W2Mnet.com. And, once again, thank you, Paul. I mean, I know you're sick and you missed work and you're just really trying to get through it. You made it through NXT and you made it through tonight's W2M episode. I can't thank you enough for sticking in with me, man.
Oh, gosh, you're going to make me blush, Gary. Just doing my job.
Oh, yeah, there you go. I like the blushing stuff. So, I appreciate it. I really, really do, because you didn't have to, and that's really, really cool. And I know our listeners really appreciate it as well. Once again, if you haven't heard and you need to know, W2Mnet.com is just a place to be. It really is. And for all those things that Sean does and everybody else that's in our staff, we have such a great staff, a whole lot of great individuals that do such a wonderful job, really just honestly focus on what they love. And so you've got not only wrestling, you've got video games, you've got sports, you have entertainment, all the great things all of us love. They're right there at that website, W2Mnet.com. Go check it out. Also, don't forget to go hit subscribe and, rate and review as well over at Wrestling to the Max or the W2M Network. Just go do it because it gives us a little feedback on what you like, what you hate. It gives us a star rating that kind of gets the word out more about us once you hit the 5 stars. And also, once again, once you subscribe, that just helps you. That you never have to go looking for us again. We're right there in your dock. You never have to miss the show. So make sure you go do that if you haven't already. And also our friends, our partners in crime, 411mania.com and LastRunProWrestling.com. We promote them every week because they are so great. They do some great work, and we appreciate them. They do a lot for us, and we want to make sure we do a lot for them. But besides that, we are done for the night, and guys, we hope you have a great night. I hope you have a great weekend. There's lots of things going on in the world of wrestling, and we'll be talking about them next week on episode 289, part 1 and part 2 for this show, and of course all the other great review shows we do. Make sure you don't miss a minute of the action. But until next time, if you want to find anything else about us, hey, just Google and you'll find all the secrets about me and Paul. I'm sure there'll be some scary things involving pictures and all sorts of risque things. Maybe you'll catch Paul's modeling. Get into that. So, but until next time, guys, we will catch you guys down the road.
Have a good one, guys.
The previous podcast is a W2Mnet.com original podcast. For more great content like this, go to W2Mnet.com for the worlds of wrestling, video games, entertainment, and sports.